Hey, this is Brian Sykes with AI Explorer. So I got to thinking about the post that I did this weekend, and I wanted to engage it in a slightly different way. So the title of today's post is Unleashing the Power of Creative Disruption in Your Business. So many business leaders often find it challenging to solicit meaningful feedback from their team. You know, when you ask a question of how can we improve this situation, it often yields limited or generic responses. A new approach is sparking more engaged conversation, and so it's kind of flat. In other words, people go, huh? Imagine you're leading a creative agency. Let's call it CreativeCo. Your agency is struggling with client retention, and you want to stimulate some innovative solutions. Instead of asking your team, what needs improvement? Another alternative route is to invite them to play devil's advocate. In other words, ask your team, what could we possibly do to make our client retention even worse? The idea might literally shock them, but soon they'll begin to unleash their creative thoughts. They might suggest absurd things like ignore client emails or miss project deadlines. Once everyone's ideas are on the table, take a moment to reflect. Okay, we've just described the absolute worst case scenario. These are all the things we don't want to be, the things we don't want to do. Then comes the crucial pivot. Now, what steps can we take to ensure that we never become this kind of agency? This approach encourages employees to openly acknowledge the problems, then engage in solution-oriented thinking. By reframing the issue in a worst-case scenario, the team can often come up with more creative and effective solutions. In considering this approach, it's important to ensure that the environment remains supportive and non-judgmental. Humor can be a useful tool, but make sure it doesn't delve or devolve into complaining or a blame session. This approach echoes principles from Edward de Bono's book, 6 Thinking Hats. His methods focus on directing attention and fostering creative and critical thinking in a group context. The black hat in this model, representing critical judgment, might be seen as the devil's advocate we're deploying here, but inverted, which can lead to fresh insights. Invite your team to explore the worst-case possibilities, can often inspire the best solutions. So why not give it a shot at your next team meeting? A couple of notes. Number one, make sure to encourage creativity, not negativity. It's important to handle this exercise with care to prevent the team from becoming cynical or disillusioned. This method is similar to inversion thinking, which comes from a cognitive toolset known as first principles thinking. It's a technique often used by successful individuals such as Charlie Munger, the business partner of Warren Buffett. For further reading, you might find value in books like Edward de Bono's 6 Thinking Hats and Warren Berger's A More Beautiful Question, which encourages creative solution-oriented thinking.
Hey, this is Brian Sykes with AI Explorer. If you just finished that video, you're probably trying to figure out, okay, how did you do that? It's not difficult, but it does have several steps involved, so let me walk you through the process. First is I wrote a script of a useful piece of information that I thought could be an asset. It was one of the things I've done in the past 20 years is help businesses solve problems. And so I thought, let's address a problem that's common whenever you're trying to get people to give you good positive feedback and constructive criticism. It's always difficult to get good answers in that engaging space. And so a way to do that is to get people to play devil's advocate by first starting with what's a negative. Okay. So I wrote the copy. I then read the copy and recorded it myself and tried to stay as center frame as possible while recording, and I used Riverside FM as my tool for doing so. The next thing is I took a screen capture of that image from the video as large as possible, took that into Photoshop Beta, and I then turned on Loom and did a recording of my screen area inside of Photoshop. Another thing though is I had about 15 to 20 minutes of editing inside of Photoshop Beta that was recorded, downloaded as a movie file. And then from Midjourney, I created the little devil, I created the bowler hat, and I took those into Photoshop and knocked out, masked those out so I could drop them in as PNGs with a transparent background. Okay, putting it all together is I took it into Adobe Premiere, and inside of Premiere, I have my bottom layer, which was the animation of the recording that I made of me editing inside of Photoshop Beta. I then, on top of that, dropped the Riverside FM video of me reading the script. And I used the mask tool to mask around myself with a feather and then a bleed. So what happens is I've got me and it's kind of bleeding into the background, and because it's sitting on the exact same image as what's in the still shot video recording, then it lines up pretty good. Overlaid my PNG files, overlaid the books inside of Premiere. Straightforward, easy stuff there. Everybody's familiar with that style. So that's how I was able to do the video with the animation of video editing taking place in the background. Just wanted to kind of walk you through a process, but also give you multiple benefits. So again, the benefit of the resource to kind of get people to play devil's advocate can be a huge asset to your business. The reason is, when you ask somebody, what can we do better? Nobody can typically think of what to do better. So when you actually start through the process of, let's talk about the things that people, or that you might even say we're doing bad, how can we do even worse? This puts people in a different frame of mind. For some reason, it's a great trigger to get people to put on a different hat and think, and without a critically negative tone, it allows them to think creatively, ways that a business could actually be ran into the ground. And then you figure out a way to turn that around. Okay, so once we've defined what that looks like, how do we not do that? Don't need to reteach the lesson, but anyway, this was a multifaceted educational experience. Hopefully you got something from it. I look forward to seeing what you guys create. Also, if you're looking to know more about the generative AI stuff, follow me here on YouTube. Check out my LinkedIn profile. I've got a link down below. It'll take you to where you can follow me on a daily basis, where every single day I'm posting something on generative AI. Again, this is Brian Sykes. Pleasure to talk with you guys. Yeah, have a blessed day.